Okay, we have received a lot of questions for a small group. Usually even a very big group also not so many questions. Okay, yes. Noting aversion to pain. What is the outcome of noting aversion to pain? And do we continue to note aversion until change is perceived in the mind? So what is the outcome of noting aversion to pain? If you note it properly, with wholehearted mindfulness, aversion will disappear. Will just dissolve. So, and depending on the type of pain also, so certain type of pain, if you note it with very sharp insight, the pain can also disappear. Okay? So do we continue to note the aversion until change is perceived? Yeah, you note it until it disappears. Okay? That disappearance, that is change. You see it clearly, it disappear, vanish completely. That is the sign of anicca. So you can develop insight even by noting the hindrance. That's why Dhammanupassana, the first object Buddha taught under Dhammanupassana, 5 hindrances. Okay? So note it properly, note it wholeheartedly until it disappears. Okay. Okay. Should a yogi note just once or 3 times if a mental picture or thought arises in a soft manner or in a stern, energetic manner? Okay? You don't just note it once or 3 times, you note it until it disappears. Okay? So not just, no, okay, 3 times already, forget it. Not until it disappears. Because it's a hindrance. So it must be noted until it disappears, and then the mind is wholesome again. Then only you return to note the primary object. Okay? Always make sure the mind is wholesome. So you note the unwholesome mind until it disappears. Okay? So in a soft manner or in a stern, energetic manner, both. As I said, the noting mind have 2 aspects. On the one side, is soft, is relaxed, is peaceful. On the other side, is energetic. Okay, very firm in the noting. Okay, these 2 aspects of the noting mind must be present. It must be balanced. Okay. Should he or she wait for it, you mean the thoughts, to completely disappear, even if it slowly fades away before proceeding to the next primary object? Yes. Ideally, you note it until it disappears. Okay? So if you really note it wholeheartedly, it will vanish very fast. Okay? Firm, energetic mindfulness, you note sharply. It should disappear after 1 noting or 2 or 3 noting. Okay? So, because as we explained several times, You're not wholeheartedly, all the effort, all the energy goes to the noting. So you do not feed any energy into the thinking, the wondering, the imagination. Then naturally you will die off. Okay? So ideally you should note until it disappears. Okay? But if you note it many, many times and still don't disappear, that means your mindfulness is really weak. Okay? You are not noting wholeheartedly. So the noting is still very weak. Okay? So if that happens, you note 7, 8 notings and still there, then you gently detach from the thinking. Okay? And gently direct the mind back to the primary object. Okay? Better to develop mindfulness on the primary object. Okay? But gently detach, don't cut it away forcefully. Okay? So withdraw, okay? And direct it back. When you withdraw and direct it back to the primary object, you also withdraw energy from it. Okay? But you make sure you note the primary object properly to develop the strength of the mindfulness. Okay? Yeah. So the fact that you note after many times still don't pass away, that means you still have a lot of work to do to develop the strength of the mindful noting. Okay. Yeah. So, as a housewife, I would like to know how to apply the practice to our daily life. Daily house chaos. No, chaos. Huh? Yeah, but it's spelled C-A-O-U-S. I think at first you write chores, but then you overwrite it, chaos. So, I wonder how your house is. Okay, if we had to slow mode action, then forever the housework cannot finish on time. Okay, now you have to understand difference between practice here and practice outside. Okay, so practice here, we are striving for liberation. Okay, so that means we direct the mind to note ultimate realities. Okay, so to note ultimate realities, you have to slow down. Okay? Because ultimate realities, mental, physical nature, they are very, very fast. Okay, you don't slow down, and the mind is not skillful enough yet. You cannot follow, so you have to slow down. Okay, so to train the mind to note carefully, moment to moment. Okay, so in this way you can penetrate. Okay, look beyond the apparent reality. Okay, the underlying reality of our existence. Okay, apparent reality is the I, the person. A person sees, hears, smells, and so on. Okay, so ultimate reality is just mental, physical nature that sees, that hears, that smells, and so on. Okay, so difference is the apparent reality, or let's say the conventional reality of the everyday life. It's like what you see, normal computer users see on, what do they think of a computer, right? What does a normal user think of a computer. So the computer is just the screen, right? And the windows, the buttons, the menus, all that that's on the screen. So you click here, you drag there, you type, and so on. That is the computer to you. That is apparently what a computer is to you. You click one button, magically a file somewhere on the internet appear. But that is apparent. But to a computer engineer, his view of a computer is totally different, right? He sees the computer in terms of the circuitry and all the binary signals. Ones and zero, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Chaos. So Vipassana is like that. Okay, and you look behind the apparent reality to the underlying reality. What lies behind? Okay, So to discern the underlying reality, you have to slow down. Okay? But outside of a retreat, so you are not doing Vipassana meditation. Okay? What most people think about Vipassana, nowadays you hear a lot of people say, you must practice in your daily life. Okay? But what they are practicing in daily life is not Vipassana meditation. They are practicing mindfulness in daily life. Okay? And that mindfulness in daily life is not directed to not ultimate realities. Okay? That mindfulness is engaged with a conventional reality of the everyday life. Okay? Interact with a person, the concept of a person. Okay? I and you. Okay? So when you are working, engage with the concept of your work. Okay? If you are accountant, so you think in terms of concept of accounting. So your mind is engaged with concept. When you're driving, you're thinking about the traffic, the cars in front, to the left and right, and so on. Okay? You're aware of all this. This is mindfulness, but it's engaged with concepts of the everyday life. It is still mindfulness. It's still, if you exercise it, it still keep the mind pure. Okay? So in the everyday life, because you are not trying to discern moment-to-moment ultimate realities, so you don't slow down. And you go about at the usual pace. Otherwise, you go to the office, typing. The boss asks you, where's the report? Next day you get sacked. Okay. You have to work in a normal pace, but still mindful. Okay? So in your everyday life, because things are happening very fast. Okay? So one way is to learn to note from mind door. Okay? This is something that you have to understand. Okay? Mind door. Okay? So mind door is the mind door. People ask me what's the mind door. So some say it's here because this is the heart base. Okay? The seat of the consciousness. Okay? But some people, you tell them here, they look, where? It's something you have to experience. Okay? Not literally look there and you will find it. Okay? So sometimes I tell the yogi, you just ask the question, What does the mind knows now? You ask this question, the mind find the answer. That is the mind door. What does the mind knows now? You just sit here, look at the mind. What does it know? That's the mind door. Okay, so everything goes through the mind door. Okay, you see something, it goes through the eye door, but it arrives at the mind door. Remember the other day I told you all the thought process. Okay? It starts with the eye door, ear door, or nose door, tongue door, or body door. Right? That's the first process. Okay? And then next process, it ends up at the mind door. So every experience, everything you experience goes through the mind door. Okay? So you just stay at the mind door. So you will know everything. Okay? But this of course takes some skill. So first of all, in your practice you must be familiar with the knowing mind. Okay? If you have not even discerned the knowing mind, then you cannot practice this. Because it's a knowing. Okay? So, but if you know how to watch the knowing mind, then you just stay with knowing at the mind door. Everything goes through the mind door. Even things happen very fast, you can know. So, so outside of a retreat, you still exercise mindfulness. In fact, you should exercise mindfulness. Okay? Keep the mind pure. So this is actually the Dhamma way of living. Live in mindfulness. So as a yogi, you should develop the habit of mindfulness, not just in a retreat, but also outside of a retreat. Okay? So in a retreat you slow down, but outside. So you slow down, you develop the very strong mindfulness. You can know, okay? And then you carry over this habit to your everyday life outside. But outside you change the object, not ultimate reality, but concept. And then you have to go fast. Okay? So it's just like something like when people practice Tai Chi, right? They go very slow, right? So that's practicing the form. So sometimes people ask, yes, they say Tai Chi is a martial art, but they go so slow. People punch them, they go. Right? No, that is when they are practicing the form. They go slow in order to learn how to move the body, because in Tai Chi there are certain principles that you must apply in the movement. Okay? So when you are learning, you go slow. You are aware of all the principles you apply. Okay? But in actual fact, you go very, very fast. The same movement, but apply very fast. Same here. Okay? Here you go slowly. You train in the mindfulness. But once you are skillful, you can also do it fast. Even if you walk very fast, you do things very fast, the mindfulness can still catch up. Okay? It's a skill of mindfulness, habit of mindfulness. Okay? So if you develop this strong habit of mindfulness, okay, even in your life outside a retreat, so this strong habit of mindfulness and is present, it holds the mind steady. So it holds the mind steady, clear, equanimous, detached, composed. All these wholesome qualities of mind. It comes with mindfulness. Okay? So that when suddenly something happens, and then in life things happen very fast. misfortune can happen very fast. So it's easy to be mindful when everything is going very smooth in your life. Okay, but suddenly some misfortune happen, you lose the mindfulness. Usually, as mind shaken, that means the mindfulness not strong yet, okay? Or none at all. Okay? But if you have developed a strong habit of mindfulness, things happen suddenly. The habit comes in. It kicks in by itself. It's a habit. Okay? Because you have been training to respond to everything with mindfulness. Yeah? Like in a retreat, you are training to respond to everything with mindfulness. Yeah? Rising occur, you respond with mindfulness. Falling, you respond with mindfulness. Sitting, touching, lifting, pushing, placing, thinking, whatever appear, you respond with mindfulness. It becomes a habit. So if suddenly a misfortune happen because of the strong habit, you automatically also respond with mindfulness. And with that strong mindfulness present, it holds the mind steady. And in that steadiness, there's clarity, there's detachment, there's equanimity, there's clarity. You don't get excited. Or what they say, kelam kabut. So you can step back and look at it clearly, the situation. Okay? So, and when you can see the situation clearly, with clarity, you know what to do. You know how to properly respond to the situation. Okay? And not make mistakes. So it's helpful in your everyday life outside. Okay? So not just in a retreat. Okay? Retreat, mindfulness develop is to develop inside. Okay? But outside, God is dealing with concept. So it's helpful in other ways. Okay? Yeah, so if you are mindful, you have this strong strong habit of mindfulness, you find that because there's clarity of mind, your mind becomes very organized. Okay, it's clear, it's organized, it's systematic. Then your house won't be so chaotic anymore. So naturally, you will keep things in order. Okay. So when the mind internally is orderly, externally will also be orderly. If internally chaotic, externally also chaotic. That's why you go to somebody's house, you will know the state of the mind of this person. Once I went into a room of one of the yogi during a retreat. I went in and said, "Wow, you live like a refugee." Things all over the place, thrown here, thrown there. Okay, what is the ideal duration or to spare time for practice sitting meditation in our daily life? Half an hour minimum. Half an hour kid stuff. At least 1 hour. At least. Okay? So you should set aside some time every day to meditate. Okay? So at least 1 hour. Okay? So don't wait until the next retreat. Okay? You wait until next retreat, your engine rusty. You wait until then you come to a retreat, you cannot start. Retreat 1 week only. You have to work so hard in that 1 week, and then finally on the 6th day, things happen already, and then go back already. So you have to keep up with the practice every day. Keep in touch with the practice. Okay? So set aside at least an hour every day to practice. Okay? Best time is in the morning, early morning. After you wake up, your mind is fresh, well rested. Right? So body also well rested. You wake up, you wash your face, do whatever you need. Then maybe you do some light stretching, because you have been lying on the bed, your body is very stiff. So do some light stretching. Okay. So if you have time, walk a little bit before you sit. Okay. If not, then after stretching, you go and sit. Okay. So that's the best way to start the day, with meditation. Start the day making the mind pure, peaceful, clear. Don't start your day scrolling social media. What did my friend send me? Fill your mind with rubbish. Okay, so better purify the mind. Okay. So the world is full of rubbish as it is. Okay, you don't want the rubbish to get in. You must be careful, what you feed your mind. Okay, just as when you eat, you make sure the food that you eat is nutritious. You don't eat junk food. So also, what you feed the mind is nutriment for the mind. Okay, So morning is the best time to meditate. Then in the evening, if you have time also, if you can also meditate. Okay. So in the evening, if let's say your work is sitting in the office whole day, so at night if you want to meditate, you can do walking meditation instead of sitting again. Okay. So then the rest of the day you exercise mindfulness in your everyday life. Okay, as you encounter various situations, interact with various people, hold the mind steady with this mindful awareness. Okay, you have to train the mindfulness so that it's strong, so your mind continuously calm, composed. Not easily excited. Okay? Yes, it's clarity, detachment. Okay? The third question is a busybody question. Curious, would like to know whether Bhante still feel pain for sitting meditation. So, you have a body, of course you feel pain, right? Body is a condition for to feel pain. Even the Buddha also feel pain. Buddha regularly have headache, backache. So, and even when he was about to pass away, he suffered from, after eating that, don't know what that is. Some say it's pork, some say it's mushroom, and he suffered from dysentery. So a lot of pain at that time. Okay? So of course, body you sure feel pain. Okay? Unless you have this condition, there is a type of condition, some people have it, where basically the body is numb. You don't feel pain. Really, there are people like this. And it's not something good. Or you think, I sit, no pain. But it's dangerous. That means if let's say you put your hand here, there's a fire burning there, you do not know. Your hand will be completely burned and you do not know. Okay? So unless you have that condition, of course you will feel pain. But if you can note the pain with mindfulness, steady mindfulness, There's detachment, equanimity, there's no problem. Okay? As you said the other day, pain is a good friend of the yogi. So we welcome it. As the Buddha also said, when the body is sick, pain is like a sickness in the body. Okay? Imbalance of the element. Okay? So don't let the mind also be sick. Okay, is it a suitable practice while at one sitting or at a different sitting to switch between noting a rising falling at the stomach and below nostril? Now, if the sitting, if the rising falling is clear, you don't switch. Okay, some yogis switch because they feel bored. Rising, falling, after a while they feel bored. And then they want a new object, then they switch. That is not alright. Okay? You feel bored, you must note bored, and continue. No energetic effort. The reason you feel bored is because your mind is not active in exploring into the nature of object. So there's tinamida, there's laziness. You just look at it superficially, then of course it's not interesting. Okay? So you must exert effort, continue explore into the nature. Okay? So, but if the rising falling not clear, then you switch to sitting touching. Okay? So as for the sensation in the nostril, so now, depending on the yogi, okay, so those yogi who are new, usually I ask them to note rising falling, okay? Because rising falling is easier. So I ask you, I sit here, and then you see the door there. Which one is easier to see, the whole door or the keyhole? You look one time and you see the door, but keyhole you have to so rising falling is like the whole door, big area. Anapana, keyhole. So it's easier to notice the rising falling is gross. Okay, anapana tend to be more subtle, and it gets more and more subtle as the mindfulness concentration develops. Okay, rising falling actually also gets subtle, but not as subtle as anapana. Okay. However, there are some yogis who are already, because they're trained in another tradition where they learn to note anapana. Okay, so if they are already familiar with this object anapana, okay, and if they are noting it as the elements and not as the concept of in-out, so and they are able to report the experience clearly, okay? Then for me it's okay. So you can carry on noting the anapana. Okay? So even Mahasi Sayadaw allows anapana for those who are already familiar with it. Okay? So, but the thing is, don't switch back and forth. So you must decide rising, falling, or anapana. If you go rising, falling, don't switch to anapana. You want to note anapana, don't switch to rising, falling. Stick to your object, okay, and explore it until it becomes clear. Okay, So unless after a while you find it not suitable, then you switch. And once you switch, you don't go back and forth as you like. Okay? Okay. Okay, do you agree with what some masters advise that sometimes it is good to alternate practice with some samatha bhavana to calm, energize the mind? What is your thought, advice on this? Now, usually in the retreat I ask yogis to practice Vipassana. Okay? So, unless the yogi have some very extraordinary defilements, defilements are so strong. So sometimes the defilement is so strong, noting alone cannot work. Okay, a very strong anger issue. You not anger cannot go away. You very strong attachment. You not cannot go away. So if after a while the mind is unable to settle down by noting alone, okay, then you may recommend some samatha practice to do. Okay, you need a stronger medicine, okay, to deal with the defilements. So we use some samatha practice to help deal with the defilements. Okay, to restrain the defilements, to calm down the mind before going to Vipassana. Okay? So, but most people, most yogis don't need to do this. Okay? So, especially in Malaysia, our defilements are quite mild. So usually, noting alone is sufficient. You put effort into continuous noting. Okay, after a few days, the mind will settle down. Okay, hindrance will clear away. Okay, then once clear away, automatically the samadhi comes. Then the vipassana will start to happen. Okay, so for most people, you don't need to go to samatha. Okay, because to go to samatha is another distraction. Okay, so in this practice, actually people ask, what is the shortcut? The nibbana, right? This is already the shortcut. Okay, actually the Mahasi Sayadaw's way of practicing, it takes the shortest possible route. It doesn't become distracted into other things, you know. So even samadhi also develop the minimum amount of samadhi necessary to develop inside. Just kanika samadhi. You don't go and develop upachara, jhana, first jhana, second jhana, and so on. Just the minimum requirement, kanika samadhi. Yeah. So, and experience of insight also. So the teachers keep pushing you faster and faster and faster. So that you go through as quickly, but also completely not setengah masak go. So the teachers keep drilling you. Okay, idea is so that you can attain liberation in the shortest time possible. Okay? So if you have to spend some time with samatha, it takes longer. Okay? So that's why we encourage, especially for lay people, to go directly to vipassana meditation. Because you all don't have time, right? Yeah, like here 1 week only. After that, I go back to work, right? So to develop samatha before vipassana, it takes a long time. Okay, so it may take many months, and you have to be in a very suitable condition, a suitable place where there's very little noise, very few things to distract the mind. Because even a little distraction the practice can suffer. Okay? Because it's very sensitive. Okay? Yeah. So you have to spend a long time developing a samatha. Okay? And during that time, you're not developing any vipassana, any wisdom. Okay? So 1 week, 2 weeks, I got enough. Okay? But vipassana, 10 days, 14 days, if you really put your effort into it. First of all, of course, you must grasp the method of noting properly. So once you understand method of noting properly, if you really put your effort seriously into developing it continuously, within that short period of time, it is possible to experience some degree of insight. Okay, at least the earlier insights. Okay, or even higher. Okay, I've seen yogis who, within a short period, they can reach up to even Bhanganyana and beyond. Okay, those experienced yogi, needless to say, they go faster. Okay, so within that period of time, you practice seriously. It is possible to develop some degree of wisdom, okay, insight into impermanent suffering non-self. Okay, and that is more beneficial. Okay, now. So most people don't need to practice samatha and proceed straight to vipassana. And you really put your effort into it, you should be able to overcome the hindrance and then derive benefits from the practice. And I find often when yogis ask permission to practice some samatha, often I find it's just an excuse not to face the difficulty or the dukkha that arise in practice of vipassana. Okay, as vipassana practice, because you're developing insight into nature of dukkha, so it can be after a while, your mind is not strong, your noting is not strong, you can feel very depressed. Okay? Then they cannot face it. Then they want to do some samatha. Okay? But often if you just summon up the courageous effort, face it, you really face it, you can overcome it. Okay? And the mind will be uplifted again as you progress in the development. So, but of course, sometimes some yogis, they really cannot take it. So then we give them a very short samatha practice, do for a few minutes. In fact, actually, even for vipassana retreat like this, so sometimes they ask you to do the 4 guardian meditation. Okay? So for us, actually, metta meditation, in the evening, metta chanting is not just chanting, It's supposed to be metta meditation. You're supposed to sit there, radiate metta to all beings. That is one of the guardian meditation. Okay? Because we meditate here, a lot of unseen beings, you do not know. So you radiate metta to them so that they will not harm you. or they'll protect you. Also, metta towards your benefactors, so who support you in your practice. Okay? So another one is Buddhanusati, recollection of the qualities of the Buddha. Okay, so this is especially if you practice in scary places. Here, not scary at all. Practice in the forest, near cemetery, in mountain caves. Then you do this Buddhanusati, okay, to dispel any fear that may arise in you. Okay? So we do have such meditation. Another one is Maranasati, reflection on death. Okay? So that sense of urgency. You practice without sense of urgency. Never mind, eso masih ada. Then take it easy. But you think, next moment I may die. Then you put in the effort. It's true. We can die any moment. You think you're safe here? Who knows, right now there's a plane flying above, engine failure, and then they come crashing down here. How? This is like the 9/11, right? They didn't expect it at all. They were just going about their life, just like any normal day. Most of them, I think, they died without knowing what happened. But suddenly it comes. So sense of urgency. Okay? And then I think that last one is what? The lovesomeness of the body. Kayagata sati. Because when you are meditating, sometimes they attach to the body. So try to sit, also find a cushion, very soft one, very high one, very thick one. Find comfort. Okay? So you pamper the body. When you meditate, you pamper the body, your mind, allow attachment. So you reflect on the lovesomeness of the body. Okay? Okay. So we do have the samatha practices, but we ask the yogi to only do it for a few minutes in the morning, and that's all. The support, the practice, bring the mind to a proper frame of mind to practice Dhamma. Okay? Otherwise, focus on Vipassana is better. Okay? It's not to say samatha practice is no good. So if you have all the time in the world, right? And if you have already practiced Vipassana until you are satisfied, then of course, by all means, pursue samatha also. It will enhance your understanding of meditation. Okay? In fact, in Mahasi centers, when they train teachers, okay, so first you must practice Vipassana first. Okay? Until they are satisfied, completed the practice, then they're satisfied your practice, then and they want to train you as a teacher. Part of the training is samatha. Okay? Because as teacher, you need to understand meditation, all-rounded understanding of meditation, not just one aspect, the Vipassana aspect. Okay? So, and samatha practice has its own benefits also, if you have the time to pursue it. Okay? So, especially monks and nuns, we have all the time. So we have the time to pursue. Okay? But your lay people, very little time. Right? So better to focus on Vipassana. It's more beneficial. Okay? Is intention always accompanying the noting mind? What do you mean? You mean intention to note? Who asked this question? What is it? Intention to note?
I really think that's the intention.
That means intention to note lah. Okay. Yes, that is intention to note. Okay. Without intention, you don't know. But it's very, very subtle. Okay. And of course, if it's prominent in our experience, you take note of it. Okay. But usually we don't note. Okay. We just let the noting go on. In the beginning, you will notice it a lot because you have to exert the mind to note. So you notice the intention to note. Okay, but once it flows smoothly, the noting goes on smoothly. Usually, it becomes very subtle. Okay, then you just let the noting go on. That's more important. Okay, so usually we note the intention of the physical movement, cause and effect. This one is actually also cause and effect. Okay, but it's more. Usually yogis don't notice this. But behind noting, there is the intention to note. Okay, it's usually very subtle. Okay, if the mind has started to wander, or a picture is formed quite significantly, is it considered late in noting? Yes, it's already developed, formed significantly. Okay, but then you can still note. Okay, in fact, you have to quickly note, so that it don't go on further. Okay. So, as we said, ideally you note it as soon as it arises, okay? So that it doesn't grow strong. So will the latent aspect in the defilements be destroyed? So, because the mind is wandering, it's not noting. Okay? So the anusaya kilesa, the latent defilements, is destroyed only if you note reality, okay, and you note its nature of impermanent suffering non-self. Okay. So in this case, it's already thinking, wandering. Okay, so that means it's hardly noting. Okay? So the anusaya, the latent defilements has already surfaced. Okay, that means it has become what we call pariyutana kilesa, obsessive defilements. That means yes, latent defilements is just a potential. It hasn't arise yet. It's a potential in the mind to arise. Okay, but in this case, it's already arisen. Okay, so it's obsessive defilements is disturbing the mind already. Okay, so it's no longer just a potential. The potential has been released. Okay. So, but if you note it there and then, it disappears. Okay? So, if you note it as just thinking, so when you're not thinking, you note the state of thinking. Okay? That is reality. Okay? And you note that thinking disappear, you see the nature of impermanent in that moment. Then in that moment, the anusaya is removed with regards to that thinking. Okay? Okay, what are the dying process? That means after the heartbeat stop, with respect to the four elements and mind consciousness. Okay. Okay, so when a person dies, first of all, the mind. So the last consciousness disappear. Okay, so you call it chuti chitta, death consciousness. You can easily remember this. Chuti, you take a holiday. But in Pali, chuti means death. So next time you chuti Malaysia. So once that consciousness disappears, that person dies. Okay, that's the last consciousness in this life. Okay, okay, and then after that, due to the force of karma, attachment, next consciousness will arise in a new existence. Okay, that's called the rebirth consciousness. So death consciousness is immediately followed by rebirth consciousness. Okay, so there's no person that survive undestroyed. There's no self that pass on from one existence to another. Okay, that's just a process of consciousness. Right, once the process of consciousness, the consciousness arise, disappear, arise, disappear. So within this life, when the last consciousness has disappeared, the very next consciousness will appear in the next life. Okay? So not just the consciousness, 5 aggregates arise. Okay? In the human world, in the Deva world, in the sense sphere world, it's all 5 aggregates. Okay? So, and in the fine material world, is also 5 aggregates, generally, except one of them. In one of them, only one aggregate of materiality. That is the world of they say, asanyasata, the beings that do not have mind, mindless beings. Okay? That is a type of being, just mind. So they are like statue, just materiality. Yeah. So this one, because then they practice meditation, they have the idea that the mind is the cause of suffering. Right? So they meditate in order to get rid of the mind. Okay? So when they attain jhana, that karma of the jhana will lead them to be reborn in that world, without mind. So for them only one aggregate. So they're like statue. Then the immaterial world, immaterial Brahma world, without body, only mind. So 4 aggregates. So that's what happened in the mind. Okay. With regards to the body, now body materiality originates from 4 sources: kama, citta, utu, ahara. Okay? Kama is kama. Kama produce certain materialities. Eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, nose sensitivity, tongue sensitivity, body sensitivity, heart base, the material life faculties. All these are produced by karma. Okay? So when a person passes away, all this materiality originating from karma disappear. Okay? Then The first source is karma. Karma, chitta. Chitta is the mind. Okay? So mind produces materiality. Okay? So intention, movement, that's materiality. Right? When you are angry, your face change, right? Your blood become hot. Your pressure goes up, and so on. These are materiality produced by the mind. Okay? When you're very calm, peaceful, body become very relaxed. So different materiality are produced. Okay? When you develop the bojjhanga, the factors of enlightenment, it produces very healthy materiality in the body. Even some chronic diseases can be cured. So, but when you pass away, consciousness of this life finish. So those materiality also disappear. And then ahara is the food that you take. So the nutriments that you take also produce materiality. Okay, and those also disappear when you die. Okay, the last one, utu. Utu means like temperature, environment. Okay, so this also produce materiality within. That materiality is not destroyed by death. That remains. So when you see the corpse, right, after a person dies, the corpse remains there. That is only materiality originating from utu. Okay, the temperature, the environment. Okay, and that will slowly decay and so on, back into the earth. Okay. Yeah. So that's what happened to the body after death. So sometimes when I go to a person who about to pass away, right? Sometimes the Buddhists ask, how do we know they have died already? Because sometimes they're afraid, not yet pass away, they go and embalm him. Problematic. So how do you know? For me, the safest way to know is when the body becomes cold. Because once all this, I told you the three sources of materiality, all that disappear. That means the heat. Heat also dissipate. Heat can be produced by the mind, or the food, or the karma. Okay, so and that will dissipate. Okay, so the body will become cold. Okay, after a while also become stiff and hard. It's a rigor mortis, right? So when it become cold and hard, then you can safely say already passed away. Okay, But doctors, of course, they see they put all the probes. Okay. So, what are the nutriments and why are they important to know? Makan nutriment. Yeah, but seriously, in Buddha's teaching, he talk about ahara, nutriments. Okay, so nutriments in the commentary explained as pacaya, support. Supportive condition for continuity of life. Okay, so So there are 4 ahara. One is the one that we usually understand, Kabbalikara ahara, the physical food that we take. Okay? So this one it supports the body. It's a condition to sustain the physical body. Okay? So then the second one is phassa. Phassa is mental contact. Okay? So this is the nutriment for feelings, Vedana. So we said the other day, whole life people are pursuing Vedana, right? So they need to keep getting more and more Vedana. So what fits the Vedana? Phassa, contact. So you need to constantly see, hear, smell, taste, touch. You contact with this object. Then you get the feeling, the wonderful feeling that you are seeking. Right? So then, but beings also seek rebirth. It wants to be reborn here, reborn there. And it's Chaitana that fits rebirth. Okay, Chaitana is karma. Okay, so and then the last one is Chitta. Chitta is the consciousness. This one it fits the nama rupa. Okay, so throughout your life you have this mind and body. Nama rupa is Chitta. That is a condition that supports nama rupa. In the Paticca Samuppada, Buddha says Vijnanam Paccaya Nama Rupam. Okay, so we consciousness as a condition, that's mind and body. Okay, Nama and Rupa. Here, Nama. Usually, you see this word Nama. Depending on the context, you have to understand. Okay, generally it means mind. Okay, and we say mind in general, it means chitta and chittasikas, right? It means the form immaterial aggregates. Okay, the feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. Okay, but here, when you say chitta is nutriment for nama rupa or independent origination, you say Vijnanam Paccaya Nama Rupam, consciousness as a condition nama rupa arise. Nama here exclude chitta. Okay, so only Chaitasikas is nama in this context. So the aggregate of consciousness is excluded. So only the other 3 immaterial aggregates are called nama. Okay, so they are supportive. Okay, yeah. So yeah. So why are they important to know? Because they are part of dukkha, sankhara dukkha, okay? Suffering due to conditioning. Okay, the whole life you constantly have to feed the body, feed the feelings, feed the karma. So again and again and again. So it's never-ending work. Okay. So this part of sankhara dukkha, suffering due to the nature of conditioning. Okay, nutriment is basically conditioning. So you see the nature of conditioning again and again, arising, disappearing, as arising, disappearing. Okay, due to conditioning. Okay, so you discern nature of sankhara dukkha. Okay. So you understand this, then it's basically Vipassana. Okay, this will lead to the development of insight into dukkha. That leads to cessation of suffering. That's why there's one passage. So this is from Anguttara Nikaya. So, one thing, Book of Tens. So, as the Buddha says, bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu becomes entirely dispassionate towards one thing, when his lust for it entirely fades away, when he is entirely liberated from it, when he sees the complete ending of it, then he is one who, after fully comprehending the goal, makes an end of suffering here and now. And what is the one thing? All beings subsist by nutriment. That means all beings are supported by nutriment. Okay? So when a bhikkhu becomes entirely dispassionate towards this one thing, nutriment, support, when his lust for it entirely fades away, when he is entirely liberated from it, and when he sees the complete ending of it, then bhikkhus, he is one who, after fully comprehending the goal, makes an end of suffering here and now. Okay? So this is basically Vipassana, seeing the sankhara dukkha, suffering in the nature of conditioning. Okay? So our life is constantly supported by this condition that propels it, so it goes on and on and on, arising, disappearing. So we discern this clearly. That means you are discerning impermanent again and again. Okay? When you see this clearly and in your noting, it's like you're experiencing death again and again and again. Okay? There's oppressive. Okay? There's dukkha. Okay? Okay. So, is developing the 10 paramis necessary for lay people or yogis? So, yes. It's necessary for everybody. Okay? But when you practice, you don't aim to cultivate parami. So you aim to be liberated from suffering. Okay? To be free from suffering. Some people say, I'm just practicing to acquire parami. I don't have sufficient. I cannot be free. You never know. You may have sufficient parami, but if you do not put in maximum effort into the practice, you may not realize its potential. Paramis are like spiritual potential in the mind. Okay? But if you do not put effort into the practice, this potential may not be realized. Okay? In Buddha's time, there are people, they have sufficient parami to attain even arahantship. Okay? But they do not practice. They squander their life away enjoying themselves. Okay? So in the end, they do not realize the potential of the paramis. Okay? When you are in a retreat, you strive to be free from dukkha, from suffering. Regardless of whether you have enough parami or not, you strive. You have enough parami, the potential will be realized. Okay? And you may attain liberation. Okay? But if you do not have parami, then even as you are striving, you are cultivating paramis. Okay? It's automatically accumulated. Especially panya parami. You develop vipassana. Vipassana is wisdom, is panya. Okay? In Vipassana meditation, we observe the 4 Satipatthana objects. In our interview, we report on this observation instead of our conceptual observation. Is that why my reporting is often wrong? Now, in the beginning of your practice, usually when you report, when mind is not clear yet, usually when you report a lot of concepts. Okay, even experienced yogi. Okay, you always talk my abdomen. It goes this way, it goes that way, this direction, that direction. So. Walking meditation, my heel lift up, then my foot, my toes got pressed down. These are all concepts, parts of the body. Okay, but as you develop the noting mind, it becomes clearer and clearer. You start to experience more and more reality. Mental physical nature. Okay? Then correspondingly, in your report you will start to report more and more about this mental physical nature that you experience. Okay? So you report what you experience in your practice. Okay? Don't report what the teacher want to hear. Report what you experience, because what the teacher wants to know is your state of your practice. You report what he wants to hear, then it may not be the true state of your practice. Then the teacher may not give you the proper guidance. Okay, so you report what you experience, but the teacher may give you guidance to direct your mind. Let's say after practicing 1 month, you still a lot of concepts. Then he will start to direct you, so that in a way that you will start to experience more and more reality. Okay, so once you start to experience sabhava clearly, natural mental physical phenomena. Then the teacher may start to guide you to note the change, the arising, disappearing, and so on. Okay? But you report what you experience. Okay? Not report what you think should be the right experience. Sometimes yogi asks me, Bhante, how should it be? It should be exactly what you experience. Okay? Okay, that's all.